What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another sports podcast brought to you by Parker Copeland and a guest speaker today, Andrew Heldman.
Yep, that's me. Get ready to all these fire hot takes I'm about to serve up.
And today we are going to be focusing on an exclusively NBA pod. We'll be going in depth on a couple of hot takes. We're going to be having a couple of debates. So let's get right into it today. We'll start off with probably the hottest NBA news this past week. Dion Waiters. Dion Waiters has been given a 10-game suspension from the NBA for his actions in the past week on the team plane. He was given a gummy, is what it was reported in the articles. Obviously, it was a THC edible. Andy, the Heat are your NBA team. What are your thoughts?
Well, Waiters has been there for a long time, and it just seems like everything with him is it's always stuff besides basketball. Like, you have the weed news, and speaking of the same thing, people in the NBA, if they're going to do drugs, need to get better at hiding it. Do you remember the D'Angelo Russell thing with like the iced
weed
tea can?
Oh yes, the weed
and they put it in there. But I mean, I don't. What else can I really say about Dion? He hasn't been playing because, for whatever reason, I haven't been following basketball that closely so far. Well, at least like off the court stuff. But I saw this, I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, because it's so anti-Heat. You know, the Heat culture. You got to do this, that way, all the conditioning stuff. And it's just like, all right. Although big ups to Waiters, though. He won't say which teammate gave it to him.
Yeah, if there's one plus that Dion Waiters has going for him right now, trying to gain back the respect from the Heat organization, is that he did not snitch on a teammate, and that's about all the man has going for him right now. He was benched earlier for the season, given a one-team suspension administered by the team for conduct detrimental to the team. He said some things that the team didn't like, and then since then just has not gained much traction starting time. He's been inactive while healthy for the first 9 games of the season and has lost his spot to a couple of young guards on the Heat, which will blast us into our next topic, first debate of the day. We're going to be talking about Rookie of the Year consideration, and while on the Heat, Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn have slid in. Kendrick Nunn, undrafted. Tyler Hero, drafted in the lottery in the first round this year, and have swiped Dion Waiters' minutes. Let's start out with what you got as your prediction for Rookie of the Year.
Today, I'd probably go with Ja. I mean, I know the Grizzlies aren't doing too hot, but last time I checked, he's averaging like 20 and 5, which is more than anybody else is doing. Not because Hero and Nunn aren't doing pretty good, but I think Nunn's probably going to fall off a little bit because it happens to everybody at some point. And like whenever people know you can shoot, and he's been shooting really well, they kind of tend to step out on you. Same with Hero. And the only other competition for Ja is like RJ, but he's on the Knicks, and we don't want to talk about the Knicks. So I think he's in the best position because he's got the ball in his hands all the time as the point guard and already leader of the team as a rookie. He's just in his position, he's the best to keep up the success that he's had so far.
Absolutely. Another question on the topic. Zion Williamson has been out since preseason. He suffered an injury to the foot.
It was a
leg.
It was a meniscus tear.
Meniscus tear.
It's a partial meniscus tear.
Okay. So a tough injury. It's kept him out for, they said, the first month or month and a half.
I think it was Christmas was the timetable.
Christmas.
Or
okay.
like the weeks leading up to Christmas.
Okay, so that's so taking out 2 months of his rookie season. Is it possible for Zion to still win this thing, Rookie of the Year?
Depends on his production. If he comes in and puts up the same stats as Ja, like 19 and 8, then he won't win it. Because it reminds me of Joel Embiid whenever Brogdon won it, because he only played in like 30 games, but he was by far the best player. But you can't win Rookie of the Year playing half the season. So unless he comes out and lives up to the hype that everybody's building him up to be and averages 30 and 15, then I think you just missed too much time.
I'd agree with that. from what a strong draft it started out to be this year. We haven't seen a lot of guys that were picked early on getting a lot of playing time first, which I think is just a testament to the NBA now. Almost every team in the league is getting better. There's superstars on almost every team. These young guys are not going to have a chance immediately to be inserted into a lineup and get a chance to play. Pretty much RJ, just very few of these guys around the league that are immediately getting a chance to make an impact on their given team.
Because you see the guys like DeAndre Hunter and Jarrett Culver, both high picks, and they're on decent teams, good situations, but they're not in the position to get the stats or to have. They're not leaders on their squads. Like the Timberwolves with Jarrett Culver already have Towns and Wiggins. So
Absolutely,
happen to be bad. And then like DeAndre Hunter, Trae Young's averaging 35. Well, not actually, but exaggeration for dramatic effect.
He's putting up good numbers this year. So while we're on the topic of Trae Young, let's hop over to our next big debate. Dating back to the draft last year and NBA Rookie of the Year last year, Luka Doncic. And who are you taking long term? Are you taking we'll hop back to Rookie of the Year for a second. You picked Ja. My prediction, I say I'd take Ja, but I'm going to have him and RJ are in very similar positions. Their teams are both bad. Neither one of them are going to make the playoffs. The Knicks are, well, they're the Knicks. Everybody knows about them. They have their issues that we'll hit on in a little bit. I'm going to take RJ. I like what he's doing so far. He's putting up similar numbers to Ja, but I think he'll be able to keep it up throughout the season as a shooter. He's a good attacker. They do a lot of the same things, and I think that RJ will probably have the best NBA career, too, out of all the guys in this draft.
Yeah, I can respect that. And RJ will definitely get more media attention being in New York. People will be able to watch him more, even though no one wants to watch the Knicks. They want to watch him.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of the NBA awards are about narrative. Giannis won it last year. A lot of people say that James Harden should have. James Harden had the numbers, but Giannis led the Bucks to a better record, and he kind of got the story. Nobody wanted James Harden to win it again either. So
that's what brings it up. And to put it in the next topic, we talked about we talked earlier about how Giannis has a chance to win back-to-back, and that the narrative thing is why I don't think he will. Because
the number of back-to-back NBA MVPs is very small. I think I heard somewhere that the number of back-to-back MVPs is like, I think 10 dudes maybe that have done it ever.
The last one was Curry, which was deserved.
Curry
obviously.
did it.
Did LeBron do it?
LeBron's done it twice.
He did it in Miami.
LeBron's done it in Cleveland. I think he won 08, 09, or 09, 10.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose won it in between.
Then it was 12, 13.
And then 12, 13 LeBron.
And then last time was like Steve Nash.
Steve Nash.
It just doesn't
before
happen.
That, it doesn't happen. It doesn't really happen in a lot of sports, I guess. It's very hard to maintain a level of success that high to be the best player in the league, and even when you are the best player in the league 2 years in a row, like we mentioned, it's all about narrative. Somebody else that maybe has a slightly less productive year, if their team does better, they're going to get the nod. The NBA is very strong about your team needing to be like maybe a top 3 seed, maybe even the 1 seed to get that NBA MVP. So we'll say Giannis MVP, no.
I'm saying no.
No.
Okay, well, if we say no, who's going to get the narrative?
Then who?
In your opinion?
My early season prediction, which I have here, I say if the Blazers, who are off to an absolutely like horrid stretch, the Blazers have been one of the best regular season teams for the past couple of years, which has never been able to translate postseason wise because they're not deep. They rely on Dame and CJ all year, and once I get to the postseason, you can't run 2 guys for a whole game and expect to win a series. So, but for as a regular season award, which the NBA MVP is, I'm gonna pick if the Blazers can get to 50 wins, I'm picking Damian Lillard for his first NBA MVP.
I can respect that. I don't personally think it'll happen.
You're a Dame guy.
I am a Dame guy. For those of you who don't know, well, nobody would know. But whenever the Heat are terrible, I always hop over to see what Dame's doing. He's now my favorite player in the league because Wade's gone. But I just don't. I see team success, and also he won't because right now they're not doing so hot and it doesn't look like they're going to get anything better because just have you seen their front court injuries?
Oh, it's
Because Nurkic is out, Whiteside's missing every other game, and he's not doing so hot anyway. And Zach Collins just had a torn labrum in his shoulder out 4 months, so I don't know how they're going to hold it down. And I was excited because they're one of the teams that people were talking about had a legit chance to make it out of the West. But I mean, you see here 3-6 to start the year, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better anytime soon. Oh, 4-6. Sorry, they won last night. So if I had to pick someone based on their, let me pull up my stats here. You can't discount Harden going for 37 points, and then there's the LeBron narrative that everyone loves. It's hard, especially because the Lakers are, what are they, 7-2?
Yeah, the Lakers off to an incredibly hot. My Lakers are off to a hot start. It's for sure. It's going to be a battle of LA all season long. People didn't really think either LeBron or Anthony Davis could pick up an MVP whenever you have two stars like that.
Well, right now they're both playing really well, but if you had to give MVP nod to one, I'd give it to LeBron just because guards seem to win it more. What's the last time?
The last time a big man won the MVP?
Giannis, everybody's like, oh, he's basically a center. No, he's not. He has the ball in his hands. When's the last time a post player won the MVP?
Oh, my goodness.
The last one I can think is like
center. Did Dwight ever win an MVP?
No.
Tim Duncan?
It was either Tim Duncan or Dirk.
Is Dirk a center too? Okay. I think if we're
big.
doing the last one, it's either Dirk won in 2006. Absolutely robbed Kobe, by the way. But
that's neither here nor there. Coming from massive Kobe fan.
A massive Lakers Kobe fan. Either Dirk or Duncan. Regardless, it's a guard / small forward league nowadays, which is what both LeBron and Giannis are. If they are like technically the four on the floor in terms of height and who they match up against defensively, but they're also the two most ball dominant players on their respective teams.
If you go MVP as best player, then best player in my opinion is Kawhi, because you brought up Battle LA Clippers, but Kawhi won't win it because he is playing 3/4 the games.
He's managing his load.
Don't say it like that.
Kawhi. So Kawhi Leonard, I don't. The dude's never won an MVP. He hasn't won a regular season MVP. He's won 2 Finals MVP. He won one last year with the Raptors, taking down the Warriors, and he won one in San Antonio whenever he locked down King James, which is a really it's been given to 2 guys because they locked LeBron down to 30 points a game in the NBA Finals.
I think that Finals MVP from Kawhi is kind of overhyped a little bit. Because everybody's like, oh, Kawhi, the 2-time final. The first time he wasn't the best player on that team. He averaged 15 and guarded LeBron, and because that whole Spurs team just averaged 15, and they just gave it to him. I mean, he was good. He probably was the best player on the team at the time, but that did not vault him into being the best player in the world, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. But today, I do believe Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the league. A couple other MVP predictions. Pascal Siakam of the Kawhi list, Toronto Raptors now. He cooked up my Lakers the other night, killed us in crunch time. He only had 9 going into the fourth, I think, and then ended with 25 or 26. He was unguardable by anybody. LeBron has been absolutely stepping up a lot on defense this year. Anthony Davis has pushed him, but I still don't think we have an elite defender on the wing. Anthony Davis is an elite defender.
You guys know, definitely not.
People keep trying to tell me and Lakers fans that Avery Bradley is a lockdown. He can lock down an average level starting point guard in the NBA. Whenever we get to the Nets, we face Kyrie Irving. We face a good guard. We don't have anybody to lock a guy like that down.
Avery Bradley is not the answer to the Lakers' defensive troubles. Also, I've never seen Avery Bradley pass the ball as a member of the Lakers.
Avery Bradley loves the mid-range pull-up, and he makes it about...
He loves missing it, too.
Yeah, he loves missing. Yeah.
But you said Pascal. I don't... Well, because it's one of those situations where media narrative in Toronto is not going to get that much. I don't know if he's gonna win MVP, but I do think he has a real shot at being like of winning most improved.
Most improved.
Again.
Yeah.
That'd
Oh,
be insane.
yeah.
Because
It'd be
last
like
year-
it'd be like the year Steph Curry won his second MVP and he finished third, I think, in most improved player. Like you're almost winning most improved player after a season that you just won the MVP. It's one of those types of seasons where Siakam solidified himself as a solid NBA starter last year, but I think he's made the leap this year into almost super.
He's not a superstar.
not a
yet.
superstar.
It's even like Jokic isn't a superstar because he plays, but he's an elite player.
I think Siakam is sprung into the top 20, 25 players in the NBA, I think.
I have his stats pulled up. 17-18, he averaged 7 and 4.5 rebounds. 18-19, which is last year, he averaged 17 and 7 and won most improved player. And this
deserving.
Year he's averaging 26 and 9.5.
This dude is making leaps every year. And what is he? 25 or something?
He is currently 24 years old.
He's already made in 2 years. Now, don't get us wrong. It's 25, yeah. Don't get us wrong. We're 10 games into the NBA season, but this dude really looks like he has made the leap into at least stardom. Definitely not superstardom yet. I wouldn't put him there, but he is looking like he can be a solid number one option on an NBA team for the next 10 years.
I mean, he's number one option on his team right now.
He's
leading
definitely
them to what are they? 7-3.
7-3. They beat the Lakers Sunday night without Kyle Lowry, without Serge Ibaka. They pulled off a win there, ending the Lakers' 7-game streak.
I attribute some of that growth to Kawhi being gone, but I don't think Kawhi being gone translates to a 10-point leap in points.
Oh no!
By himself.
Yeah.
That's just he keeps getting better and better.
All right, so we'll hop over to another subject in the NBA that's been grabbing a bunch of different players. One that hurts the most. Gordon Hayward goes down with a fractured hand. Not as bad as the extent as Steph Curry's injury, but Gordon Hayward had a successful surgery after he was finally heating up. He finally got over that brutal leg injury that he suffered 2 years ago now, I guess. It's been over 2 years.
Opening day, the year Kyrie got, it was 18.
17-18 against the Cavaliers on opening night. And a brutal injury. Took him over a year to rehab from. Came back at some point last year and just could never really find his rhythm. He could never return to Utah. Gordon Hayward reuniting with Brad Stevens.
Also was the Celtics last year dynamic was insane off. They were supposed to be going into the season. They were supposed to be one top 2 teams in the East.
I think they were pegged for 60 plus wins on the record books and fell short of it. They fell short of whatever their over under was at the beginning of the season and crumbled to the Bucks. Bucks second round. They went up. They won
the first 2.
They went up 2-0. Paul Pierce made his prediction. The series is over, and the Bucks went on to win the next 4. One of many Paul Pierce analyst curses that happened last year. But yeah, so Gordon Hayward goes down. He's out for at least 6 weeks. That's a long time, but he'll be back. He'll certainly be back. He was finally starting to heat up on a Celtics team that looks very, very sharp this year.
Much improved from last year.
I thought it before. Kemba Walker is, to clear the air, Kemba Walker is not a better basketball player than Kyrie Irving, but Kemba Walker absolutely does fit better into Brad Stevens and the Celtics system.
You can see last year it was Kyrie. I mean, I'm coining my own term here. It was Kyrie and the kids.
Yeah, I like that.
This year, everybody gets the ball, and you see whenever Kemba, his stats aren't jumping off the page, but I mean I've seen him score 17 points, Tatum 15 points, Hayward 20 points,
yeah,
and Brown 12 and 5, and it just fits better. But I don't think they'll make it out of the East. I know they're starting off hot, but they don't have the defense.
No, I don't think they can beat the Raptors or the Bucks or the Sixers.
No,
and even at some point, they have a lot of really good young pieces, but like you said, 15 from Tatum, 15 from Brown, 20 from they almost have too many pieces.
That's what I was gonna say. There's something to be said during regular season having depth, But not having the definitive first option can sometimes hurt you in the playoffs because no one really knows who the ball is supposed to go to when the game's on the line. Like you saw Tatum hit that game winner against the Knicks a couple days ago. I mean,
that's who I feel like that guy is supposed to be on the Celtics.
Not yet. Right now it's Kemba because we've seen Kemba do it. Well, he's the most. I don't know if it should be him, but he's the most.
He's the
most qualified.
He's a big shot hitter. Ever since his days in college, that dude lives for the moment. Absolutely. Talk about another point guard. De'Aaron Fox went down. He'll be out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And what is happening? I thought this was the year that the Kings would finally bounce back. They never had a good season with DeMarcus Cousins, and they kept getting like lottery pick after lottery pick, things that just kept not working. I felt like they made really good strides last year. They didn't miss the playoffs by much.
I think they were the 9 team.
Buddy Hield was blossoming. De'Aaron Fox I feel like he'll be an all-pro or like an NBA all-team guard at some point in his career, for sure. He goes down for 3 to 4 weeks, and what will it take for the Kings to finally be good? Is it a coaching thing? Because you know who their coach is right now? Luke Walton. Never worked on the Lakers.
Very controversial figure.
He's the dude that won 26 in a row, I think, with the longest streak to start out an NBA season in history. Steve Kerr was down with heart issues, I think, or something, and Luke Walton slides in and takes over a team, that already just come off NBA championship the year they went 73-9, 3-1. Nothing has to be said about that. But yeah, so will the Kings figure it out this season, next season? What's happening?
I don't know. It's tough to say because what I've seen, I've watched a couple game reels of the Kings. They're not on TV where we live, but I won't say that they're done getting better, but I haven't seen any improvement out of Fox and Hield. I mean, I know Buddy got his contract and all that, good for him, and De'Aaron's due to get his, and it's all good. But both those two, especially, and the team as a whole, I think they haven't done enough to improve in order to make a leap in the playoffs. Because you see other teams in the West are getting massively better. The Lakers were out last year, and now they're leading, and then we have teams like Dallas and Minnesota are taking those last 2 spots. They got better, and then Phoenix. But Dallas is a team that I was really debating between who was going to be better, Dallas or Sacramento. But I think the main thing is you've seen Porzingis come back, and that's their second option. And you've seen Luka really kind of grow into this amazing borderline top 15, top 10 player.
Yeah.
The way he's been going right now. And De'Aaron Fox is just the same as last year. I mean, nothing. I know he's like you said, he's gonna get better, but it's just the growth has kind of fallen off a little bit, and that's why I think as a whole team is struggling. Not only that, but that's one of the main reasons.
Yeah. All right. So we'll hop over to our next and final injury. Chris Middleton is down also for 3 to 4 weeks, which he's been a guy on the Bucks he's been a very important piece, but he's a streaky shooter. He's by some overrated.
Me.
And I can't really. I don't know. Maybe the Bucks. We saw them get taken down by the Raptors last year, and I keep feeling like the Bucks need a second piece after Giannis. Like I feel like that's supposed to be who he is, but like he can't.
He doesn't function as the second option. Like you can't give him the ball when Giannis fouls out.
Yeah, he needs somebody else to make plays for him. He works good as a number 2 behind Giannis. But he's
good in like the Klay Thompson role.
That's what I was just about to say. He's a worse Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can agree there. Yeah, I feel like maybe with Kawhi out of the East, it's wide open. The conference is just not good. It sucks, honestly. But like, are the Sixers better this year? Like, do they? They don't.
I don't know if they're better. They're definitely their style's way different. They're massive.
Butler's gone. And they filled in with Richardson and Horford.
You see, now the Sixers don't have that guy either.
The second guy?
It was Jimmy. Jimmy was the number 1.
I would say it's hard for like I know Embiid is their one. Like don't anybody blast me for saying this, but like it's hard for it's like with the MVP thing earlier. It's just such a guard league. It's hard for Embiid to be the one. Like he is, but you late game like you don't nobody posts up to hit a game winning shot except for Jokic, which is just weird. Yeah.
No, I agree with you there 100%. I think Embiid's the best center in the NBA.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not getting. If he was my team, he wouldn't have the ball, or maybe he wouldn't. He would get the ball, but the game plan isn't to give him in the post with 20 seconds on the shot clock and just let him go. Because that doesn't work. They send too many doubles. But the same thing for the Sixers is Tobias Harris and Al Horford in the pick and roll really a reliable thing to get you a guaranteed bucket at the end of the game?
Do not think so. Tobias Harris was on the Clippers kind of emerging to be looking like he could be a number one guy somewhere, and the Sixers kind of picked him up for not a lot, gave him a max contract this summer, and it looked like probably the best starting five, I think,
Well, he ain't been playing like
in the NBA. But since he got since I think he's another guy, he is like a ball dominant guy that doesn't get the ball enough.
Yeah.
Kind of, he made his living on the Clippers as a kind of a ball handler in the mid range area, layups and whatnot. But with Ben Simmons, he runs the show in Philly. It's hard for him to do anything really.
It's an interesting dynamic because it's not like empty stats on the Clippers that Tobias Harris had, but obviously when you go from being the guy on your team in LA to being debatably
A guy on a team.
third or fourth option. Last year he was probably the fourth option.
Yeah.
You see it slip off, and I don't know which situation would be better for a player. Like, was Tobias Harris, is he better on the Clippers than he is on the Sixers? I don't think so. It's just the fact that he has more team around him, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it kind of highlights what he can and can't do, really.
I'd agree with that. All right, so let's move on to our next option here. We got a lot of things still to get to. We were just talking about we never got to maybe a Middleton trade that the Bucks could make to get a better option like him. They don't need anybody more ball dominant.
It'd be a person that I would think would fit well next to him, and that's on the block, is like Bradley Beal.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Someone like that who could, because he's really good at creating his own shot, but he's also effective enough in like the catch and shoot to still function while Giannis has the ball, but he can do both.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't even think about that. Bradley Beal has been on the trade market for the past.
He'll for sure be gone.
He'll be dealt at some point.
I know he signed that extension, but he'll get traded.
Yeah.
Because rebuilding teams don't keep their players unless you're the Knicks.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be a good fit. Didn't think about that. Another big trade that has been rumored since the start of this summer. CP3. There's a lot of speculation around where CP3 could land. There was talks this offseason with the Heat. The Heat could have grabbed him, but at this point with Hero and Kendrick Nunn kind of stepping up, I don't think there's enough room for him on that team.
I don't think they want him on that team.
I don't think no.
Things are working. I mean, Jimmy has the ball. Jimmy's the guy that runs the show, even though he doesn't. I mean, he's not the point guard, but it's Jimmy's team. We all know that.
Yeah.
And it's working pretty well to start.
Yeah, you mentioned last week, I think, when we were together, that you said Chris Paul only helps you in the playoffs, which I'd agree with. And, that's every team's end goal. But
I mean, because regular season, no one cares about hitting a fadeaway mid-range.
Yeah.
4 times a game. I mean, because in the you got to be able to score in the playoffs, and he's a guy that can get that shot anytime he wants.
Yeah.
But in the regular season, I mean, I think he just clogged things up. And like in Miami, I'm talking about Miami right now because that's the team you brought up at the start. If he went to Miami right now, I mean, they were talking about during the offseason. I keep stuttering. They were talking about it during the offseason, but I mean, when you see it now, that they seem to have an identity on offense. They have the guys that surround Jimmy, and like to give the ball to Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero and let them score.
Yeah.
But if you throw Chris Paul in the mix, I don't know. I mean, it might work out in the end. They can figure it out, but it's more of if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. OKC is 4-6 right now in a very, very deep and brutal Western Conference. They're at a point where the Blazers, who have been a perennial top 3, I think they've had top 3 the last couple of years.
They made conference finals last year.
They made conference finals, took down the Nuggets. But anyways, the Thunder. I was looking at the roster and I was like, that's not a bad roster, honestly. But I think they're kind of in a small rebuild kind of right now.
It's not enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah. So I think they got a deal CP3.
They'll be like the 10 seed.
Yeah, I think they got a deal.
You don't want to be the 10 seed if you want to go.
Yeah, you don't want to be in between, especially if you're not a team like the Thunder who want to compete. So if you want to compete, you got to take a year off. You got to deal CP3. You can get something out of him from somebody. I feel like they're probably going to end up waiting towards the deadline. They'll find a team that has an injury somewhere. Somebody will definitely scoop CP3 up.
Where do you think? Where would you want him to go? Or not where would you want him to go? You probably want him to go wherever, but where do you think would be a really good fit?
Currently, I'm pegging him to land in Minnesota. They don't have a point guard problem, but when your point guard is Jeff Teague, I think he's the starter there. Yeah. Jeff Teague would slide really well into a bench role there. He would work really well in the second unit. And Chris Paul would be he is like the Jimmy Butler kind of type of guy who just wants to win, but he's gonna say what he wants to say, and he's gonna like disgruntle this Timberwolves roster that's finally kind of found peace after the Jimmy Butler era, where he called these guys soft, like they telling that Wiggins that he didn't want to win, and Cat, all these things. And I think CP3 is that same guy. I think they need him though. They're 8th right now, early in the season. I feel like the Timberwolves will make the playoffs, and they need to get They need to get Wiggins. They need to get Towns. Like they need to stop wasting these good years. Obviously, Wiggins hasn't broken out like the one pick that he was supposed to be, but he's putting up 25 a game this year. I think this is his breakout season. I feel like you add Chris Paul, and with the Warriors gone, it's honestly a throw up right now in the Western Conference. Obviously, the Lakers and Clippers at the top make it hard, but that they're not anything near what the Warriors have been the past 5 years. So, anything else?
Interesting dynamic. I thought about CP3 with Minnesota because they definitely need a point guard to facilitate the offense. But the problem is, and we haven't really seen it because it's been a while, but you don't really know how CP3 is going to mesh with the young guys because like Cat and Wiggins aren't the same type of young guy that like Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan were.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd definitely be a problem, especially with Wiggins, because Wiggins is a dominant scorer that needs the ball in his hand. You can't run a pick and roll with Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins. But it definitely I think it'd be worth an experiment if they could get it done without losing too much, because his contract's massive and they'd be strapped for the future.
Yeah. Another guy that I think that could land in Minnesota, and a guy that they were talking about signing all offseason, is D'Angelo Russell on the Warriors. And while we were just talking about the loaded West and how the Timberwolves pick up CP3 with the Warriors gone, anybody could slide in. Let's talk about have we ever seen such a dramatic fall from grace in all of American sports as what the Warriors just did? They went from the absolute bona fide favorites 4 years in a row. They didn't come into the 2015 season as favorites, but they won the championship. And from that point on, there has never been a doubt in anybody's mind from the offseason of 16-17 all the way till this offseason when KD left, that there's anybody that could say like the Warriors aren't going to win the championship. It's been Warriors. The 15-16 team that won the championship and the 16-17 that won 73 games, those teams were already unbelievable and hard to beat. And then you add KD, then it's just unfair. And then they win back-to-back with no problems, went 16-1, which is the best record in best or tied with one of those Lakers teams for best record in NBA postseason history. And then the next year they had DeMarcus Cousins. They were unfair. You had DeMarcus Cousins, it makes them unbeatable. And I mean, we saw how it turned out. The injuries got to them finally, and they didn't win last year. But like what they did in that 5-year run was just beyond anything we've ever seen in NBA history. That last year and the 2 years before that, so the last 3 years, was just, we've never seen a team assembled like that where you have 4 or 5 All-Stars in your starting lineup. And so we've seen a swing down to this year because of these injuries. KD left for Brooklyn. He wouldn't have played this year anyways with the, what was his injury? Achilles tear that you could literally see pop through his leg in that video. Klay Thompson's ACL tear, where a lot of people pegged him for an April return.
Now he's done.
But now with the Warriors falling to 2-9, I think on the season, he's not coming back. Steph Curry fractures his hand, which is you can attribute maybe Durant and Klay Thompson's injuries, which are both. Neither of those were, which were both. You could very well argue that they were just due to 5 straight years of playing 100+ games. Both of them did. And after that, your body, it's just hard. Steph's injury was just a complete freak accident. He went in for a layup and breaks his hand. And he's even been said to be on, to shut down for the season. He says he'll be back, and he absolutely should. You shouldn't miss a whole year in the middle of your prime.
This is
because
Draymond's proving season. He just got that fat contract.
This was supposed to be both of it. This was supposed to be a lot of people. I think Steph Curry had a top 3 or top 2 odds to win MVP this year.
Curry's
like
supposed to come out and average 40 points.
This was his year to see what like this dude could really do without a very good supporting cast. And he was putting up close to 30, but the Warriors were not winning with him. They were pegged for 47 wins was their over-under at the beginning of the season. They weren't getting there with Curry, and they are definitely not getting there without him. D'Lo and Draymond are going to do everything they can. They put out a starting 5 that was 5 dudes that I have never heard of. All of them. Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein was hurt, D'Lo was hurt, and Draymond were hurt. And after that, I don't know. Alec Burks, I know him, but he didn't even start. No. They started 5 absolutely nobodies. And, so have we seen a bigger fall from grace in any sport, any team that you can think of that's fallen worse than this Warriors team?
I mean, I give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit because, fall from grace is rough. Like Tiger Woods fell from grace. I don't know if you can call the Warriors a fall from grace necessarily because their whole team's out.
Yeah.
But people were still saying they were a finals favorite. You knew they weren't going to be a finals favorite even with everybody healthy. Well, with minus Klay.
Yeah.
Because they've always relied on at least some depth. They had Livingston and Iguodala to rely on. But when they bring in, you see the guys that bring in Jordan Poole, Kai Bowman, and Alec Burks, and you're like, these guys aren't. The 7-3-9 Warriors, they had their role players were Barnes, Livingston, Bogut,
Iguodala, very good role players.
And we've seen having a star, and Draymond's pretty good, D'Angelo's pretty good. But having one guy and a bunch of scrubs around him, I think back to Westbrook when he was by himself.
Yeah.
It would have led to some amazing things. Curry would have probably averaged 35, like we said, but in this West, 7 seed maybe.
Maybe
if he plays like that, if he played like that all year, 7 seed maybe.
Just to work so hard to get a 7 seed to lose to the Lakers or Clippers or Nuggets or somebody, that's at the top of the way. So it's not.
It's definitely, and it reminds me kind of when LeBron left Cleveland both times. You see they're left with nothing. And, obviously when your star leaves. Durant wasn't the whole team, but their whole team from last year is gone. They're left with D'Angelo and half of Draymond.
Yeah. That's the thing about putting so much onto the line, signing whenever the year they signed Kevin Durant, they stretched themselves so thin that, they lost Bogut, they lost Barnes, they had, an aging quickly Sean Livingston, an aging Andre Iguodala, who's had back problems for the last couple of years. And if one of those guys leaves, like Clay was rumored to leave, Steph was never rumored to leave. He's from Charlotte. People keep saying that maybe someday he'll be the Hornets. I think Steph is probably the last NBA lifer, if you know what I mean. Like he's currently he is the longest tenured to one team player in the NBA, which I think it's actually like Udonis Haslem.
Yeah, but I mean, real player.
But
Udonis Haslem is a good player for the Heat. My Heat, I like him.
But Steph Curry,
elite lifer.
Yeah, Steph Curry at 10 or 11 years is the longest.
Drafted in 2008.
So 11.
This is 11th season, I think.
Yeah, is the longest tenured player in the NBA, which is just insane to think about. Player movement. The NBA offseason has almost become more exciting than the actual NBA season.
Oh, no, this offseason was crazy.
I think it was a record 45% of players were free agents this offseason. That's almost half the league. Not all of them switch teams. People like re-upped even in free agency, but 45% of players, almost half the league, could have been switched around. And this is a very recent thing. This just goes back to LeBron basically making his departure to South Beach. Shaq was really the first big superstar to do it when he got tired of Penny and the Magic and went to the Lakers. But this is a very new thing that we're seeing in the NBA. Even role players moving around. Yeah,
I was dying laughing whenever who was it? PJ Tucker was demanding max contracts.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, what is happening? First off, the Rockets don't need PJ Tucker that bad for him to demand contract stuff from them.
No.
Anyone, if you're not a star, you get what they give you.
PJ Tucker plays 30 plus minutes a night. He is a starter and he plays starting minutes, and I think he averages under 4 a game.
Well, he leads the league in corner threes hit every year just because he stands in the corner and watches James Harden go.
Yeah.
But I mean, it talks about empowerment of the players and how they, as a player, you can do way more than you could in 2005.
Yeah, we saw this offseason Paul George demanding a trade. Paul George has demanded 2 trades.
I never understood that. How can you demand a trade to the Clippers and they send you to the Clippers?
They're
they don't have to.
If you demand a trade, you're like, oh, why would I send you to the OKC? Why would I send you to somebody that we compete against? Why wouldn't I send you somewhere to the East like the Celtics and they have a lot more young talent. I mean, granted, they got a very good haul for Paul George. They got one of the best, I think probably one of the highest potential starting point guards in the league in Shea. They got 4 first-round draft picks.
Yeah, they weren't going anywhere.
No.
With Paul George and Westbrook, so get rid of him. And I think it was Shea.
Yeah, Shea.
Danilo, Gallinari, and 4 picks and then a protected pick too.
That's a good haul for Paul George.
They're set for starting a rebuild.
Oh yeah, the Thunder will be good again someday.
Man,
don't worry.
The Clippers picks, they're not going
to be good, but
overall,
yeah,
any young players you can get or any just picks you could throw in.
Yeah, don't worry, OKC fans, you'll be all right. So while we're on the topic of, I wouldn't consider this player empowerment, but this is gonna be more geared towards how the tenure, like we were just talking about, of an NBA player is getting shorter and shorter. Tony Parker's jersey was retired last night of the Spurs. Absolutely deserves it. Tony Parker was a really good player for a long time. People get to the point, he spent his last season or 2 on the Hornets, and people just kind of forget about how good you were at some point. He won 4 NBA rings as the starting point guard on in the last 20 years, the best team in the NBA of the last 20 years. He absolutely deserved a jersey retirement in San Antonio, but are we almost starting to see it too much now? Tony Parker deserves it, but like you're saying, in the player empowerment era, dudes are not staying on one team for nearly as long. People are gonna either jerseys are just gonna stop being retired because dudes don't stay there long enough, or we're gonna have to start retiring jerseys for very short-lived careers. Joe Lacob, the Warriors owner, said that KD's jersey will absolutely never be worn again and he spent what 3 seasons?
3. Yeah.
3 seasons on the Golden State Warriors. Like I don't think that a player who has spent less time and will get a jersey. Don't get me, they went to 3 straight finals. He won Finals MVP twice. He did things that he did more in his 3 years than some people that have their jerseys retired for a team have done. So like, is that what it's going to have to come to? Like Russell Westbrook spent a long time on the Thunder, but never did anything on the Thunder. He won an MVP and made it to the finals and lost to LeBron, and he will probably get his jersey retired by the Thunder.
No, Westbrook's definitely getting retired. It's tough because it's kind of different for every team, and there's a balance between how long you were there and what you did.
Yeah.
Like, and also it depends on the team. Like, personally, I think you have it on the notes. I think Kawhi should get his jersey retired in Toronto.
Do you? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Just because he won them their first one.
Their first, yeah.
But at the same, also Toronto has no jerseys retired.
Yeah, he would be able to be their first.
So, I mean, he's more of a legend in Toronto for doing that than if he would have gotten traded to Boston, spent one season there, and won a title there.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
okay. Okay.
He
I feel you.
means way more to Toronto than he would have to a different team.
If
had he done the
Boston,
same thing.
if Boston would have won a championship, they had more star players already. They've had more star players in the past. Their jerseys retired. He would not. Okay, he would not get one there.
Another thing along the same lines, if LeBron doesn't win a title in LA, he shouldn't get his jersey retired there.
Okay.
I don't think so because
No, it's
like
the worst
story
of the 3.
Lakers. Think about this. You go to Lakers, you win. If you don't win, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely, if he doesn't win a title, it's definitely going to be the worst of the 3 teams. I think even if he does win a title, it's going to be the worst of his 3 teams. The Lakers are, with Boston, pick or choose, are the most historied franchise in the NBA in almost all of sports. They have countless numbers of jersey retirements, and LeBron winning 1 title and being there for 3 years is going to be another titles for the Lakers. So yeah, I don't think he will.
I mean, you can't really go on this like this guy's jersey in a vacuum. It doesn't really work because like the Spurs, I watched the thing last night. I looked up and like Bruce Bowen and Avery Johnson have their jerseys retired in San Antonio.
Really?
Yeah, like 'cause Avery Johnson spent 10 years there. He was a point guard whenever David Robinson and Tim Duncan.
Yeah, he won a couple.
And it's just like the different because we all know Avery Johnson is not LeBron James, but I mean, it just kind of harkens back to what you mean to the team. Like Westbrook, no contest. KD, in Golden State, in my opinion, no contest.
Yeah.
But when you get to the guys like DeRozan and Lowry in Toronto, no contest. Both of them definitely. Just even though DeMar didn't win anything, what he was Toronto for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it just comes down. You can't hold the criteria the same for every person in this situation.
All right. So while we're on this and historied franchises, another team with a lot of jerseys in the rafters, not a lot of championships. They've got some, but historically a very big basketball team, one that I think is still somehow, some way worth the most in the NBA. What in the F are the New York Knicks doing, and why do people not want to play in Madison, the mecca of basketball? Why do people not want to play here anymore?
Well, it's not the mecca anymore.
80 says the mecca is Chicago.
It ain't there either.
Where's the mecca?
The mecca now in the NBA, the mecca is just like whatever hometown you have.
Everybody has their own mecca.
No, but I mean the Knicks have been dead for 15 years.
Yeah.
It ain't been them for a long time.
Yeah, since Ewing left.
They don't win. They don't take care. I've heard this said many times. They don't take care of their players, whether it be like media representation or health or stuff like that. They just all the Knicks care about is money, which serves them well. I mean, they're the most valuable franchise.
Yeah. So it's a culture thing,
well,
I guess is what they like to call it.
I guess at the same time, it's a lack of culture. They don't have any.
Yeah. Okay.
Their
Yeah.
culture is being the Knicks, and everyone knows what that means.
Yeah. So KD and Kyrie had been rumored to be teaming up for a couple years, every time they would match up, there would be like some KD and Kyrie talking post game or like in the tunnel, like, "Hey, yo, let's link up here," you know. And so that'd been going on for a while, and then it got out this summer that KD and Kyrie, this is true. They want to play in New York together. And so how would anybody ever think this is like Lakers Clippers? This is like the Nets have always been the younger brother to the Knicks. Like, oh, KD and Kyrie are going to New York. They're going to the Knicks. Stephen A says, we got them. They're absolutely coming here. And then they don't. It's nobody wants to play for the Knicks. Nobody wants to play for James Dolan. They asked KD if he would take a pay cut. Why? I know he's hurt, but why are you going to tell?
When you've been the Knicks, you can't afford to do that.
You can't afford pay cut, and which is funny. To add insult to injury, that Kyrie and KD both did take pay cuts to go to the Nets, so that their buddy DeAndre could join up, which is just like throwing salt in the wound of the Knicks. You asked us to take a pay cut, we're not going to do that. Except, oh wait, we are going to do that on the other New York team. So there's something going on. Obviously, you can't fire James Dolan. You can't, like, you want a culture change. It just can't happen.
If they could find a way, they should find a way to fire James Dolan.
They're the most poorly run franchise in the NBA. Didn't Charles Oakley got kicked out of?
It's just something new with the Knicks every day, and it's never anything. It's never anything good. It hasn't been good since they drafted Porzingis, and he
won it out.
And it hasn't been good since he surprised people and was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And even then before that, it hasn't been good since they made the playoffs.
With Carmelo at some point.
Yeah, they made the playoffs with Melo one time.
Yeah.
And they gave the Heat a series. But I mean, I wouldn't want to go play for them. I mean, obviously, I would. New York, if you want a player, I'll go play for you in a heartbeat. But
he balled up last night in our intramural game. He dropped at least 30 in the first game and led us to a 23-point win last night.
Yeah,
excellent game.
Yeah, I could probably shoot better than him, but that's neither here nor there. The Nets, and it could be recent, both recently and over the last decade. You knew who the Nets were, and you could see what they were going to do. You could see the trend lines and how things were going. I think the problem with the Knicks is that no one knows what's going on in New York. It's just something bad is going on in New York.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't blame KD and Kyrie for not wanting to go there. I don't care if you get the bright lights of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
What good does that do you when they won 15 games last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. So the last star player that they attracted was Carmelo Anthony, because Carmelo Anthony is that guy. You said, who cares about the bright lights? You know who cares about the bright lights? Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony still probably, I don't even know if he could come back he can't get back in the NBA because he cannot accept the fact that he is not a starter in the NBA anymore. He's not good enough. Like we see the clips every offseason. Hoodie Melo, he's in the gym. He's playing with J. Cole, and he's playing with.
They probably don't show all his misses in those.
Yeah. All those videos of dudes hooping in the gym. They're like, oh my god, look at J. Cole. He's a baller. It's like, oh, there's probably some misses in there, but sure, yeah, he looks good and the clips that you chose. Carmelo Anthony was asked recently if he still wanted to play in the NBA, and he said he does 2,000%. Which is that's
a lot of percent.
That is a lot of percent. That's a weird number to begin with. Like, if you're gonna say 2,000, just say 10,000. Like, if you're gonna make it big, make it big. That's a strange number. But regardless, that's the last big free agent they attracted, and so he wants to play. Should he? And if he should, like, what criteria does he have to meet, and maybe where? I guess. It's a loaded question.
I think he's good enough to play.
Yeah.
He won't play for a winning team because the winning teams are already set. But all I know is that if Melo wants to come back, you either have to be content with coming off the bench for 15 minutes like he tried to do on the Rockets for 8 games before they cut him, or if you really want to make it back to the NBA, you're gonna have to find a team like Charlotte that just needs to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Not to say he's not good enough, because I I don't know. He's been out of it for a while. I don't know what's going to happen with him or how good he still is or if he's washed or not. But the narrative around him is he wants to play, but at the same time, he also, like, expects to play.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, like, Antonio Brown a little bit. I mean, obviously not the same scenario, but, like, just in the sense of being shunned from the league a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's not having mental health issues and all that stuff like Antonio Brown.
There's something else going on with Antonio Brown.
But, I mean, he wants to play, but nobody wants to give it to him. So he's got to do something. I don't know what it is, whether it's go find a team like Charlotte or, heck, New Orleans.
Yeah.
But it's tough to say, man, because he could score.
He can score.
I bet he still can. But
I think that's been his problem. That's why the Knicks were probably never good, because they kept giving Carmelo a lot of money, and like the Knicks can afford to spend. But the problem is that nobody wants to play. Nobody wanted to play with Carmelo. Kind of like the thing at the end of Kobe. Nobody wanted to play with Kobe, kind of, which hurts. But I think I can see that. You know, you don't want to play with a dude that has the most misses in NBA history. Kobe's my guy. Kobe's my favorite player. But I can see where people get that from. I think Carmelo was too focused on getting to 30. You know, if he didn't drop 30, if they won and he dropped, you know, like 21, like that was an L for Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah. If he wants to come back, he needs to prove that he's not that guy.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. And the problem is, I don't know how you can prove that without being in the NBA.
Yeah.
So he's kind of stuck in a tough spot.
All right, we got about 2 minutes left. We're going to get two quick things in here real quick. Give me your winner for each conference.
At the end of the season?
At the end of the season, like first seed.
Who's coming out or first seed?
Yeah, first seed.
First seed in the East will be Milwaukee. First
Okay.
seed in the West will be the Lakers. And coming out of the East will be Philly. And coming out of the West will be the Clippers.
All right.
Well, what's yours? You can't just say that and not tell me yours.
Yeah. I've got Denver with the best record in the West and Milwaukee. And then I have Milwaukee finally getting there, coming out of the East to the championship. And, God, I hate it. Yeah, probably the Clippers. God.
No one predictions for Lakers either side?
No. I think Denver, they've been together for longer. They're a good regular season team. So I think Kawhi is going to be rested too much this season for them to, like, they're already 7-3. Why it's good record, but I think the nights that he rests they'll lose, even though they're incredibly deep.
You said that. I don't believe in Denver in the playoffs either. Their whole identity revolves around Jokic, and now there are bigs in the West that can combat Jokic. Yeah. Like Davis is going to be in the playoffs finally.
Yep.
And then the Clippers have like Trez.
Yep.
Who, I mean, he plays really hard.
He's small, but he plays with a lot of heart.
He might not be able to lock down Jokic, but he'll do a decent job.
Yeah. Okay. So your question: biggest surprise / disappointment in each conference?
I would say biggest surprise in the West. People say Phoenix.
Dallas, that is mine.
I would, dare I say, Houston.
Houston making Westbrook and Harden work so far.
I mean, it's working so far. I don't know how it's going to turn out to playoffs. I probably won't translate to playoff success very well, just because neither of them have very good playoff success.
Yeah.
But I mean, 7-3, working well so far, averaging 120 points a game. Harden's still got his 40% usage rate.
Yep.
I mean, so far, if you're Houston, they don't play defense, but they're an exciting team to watch.
Definitely. And
in the East, most surprising team in the East, Toronto.
Definitely.
I mean, they won the finals last year, obviously, but everybody had them pegged as like falling out, maybe 6, 7 seed. And they seem to be holding it down pretty well. All
definitely.
Right, give me yours.
Biggest surprise in the West, Phoenix. But I see where you're coming from. We didn't get time to talk about Westbrook and Harden. But in the East, I haven't looked at it too much. But I'll have to agree with you on the Raptors. I think a lot of people pegged them to just fall off, but they're doing good so far. They knocked off the Lakers, took an L last night to the Clippers, but they're still legit. I think they'll land in the top 5 in the East.
Also, shout out to Miami.
Shout out to Miami.
Shout out to the Rooks on Miami. You guys are doing pretty good.
Andy, it's been a pleasure, sir. This was a lot of fun. We didn't get to talk about everything we had on our list. Maybe we get another chance in weeks to come.
Oh, yeah, I'll come back. I got lots of opinions.
It's been a lot of fun. We'll hit up another episode soon. There's certainly going to be enough NBA drama to grow around this whole season. It's going to be the first season in a while. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's no Warriors, and it's up for grabs. Definitely the next couple weeks and months are gonna tell a lot about these teams. But until then, thank you guys for tuning in to the B-Side Pod, another sports pod, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks.